I'm gonna go Kira, and Kira is above Dio. He's better than Dio.
No, he's not.
Yes,
he's not.
He's
Tell me how. Tell me how.
His road to being a villain is more interesting. You know what I'm saying?
How is it more interesting?
Dio was just, I think, to be fair, we don't really know how he became a villain, but I think his whole.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
No. I said we don't know. But Kira and what he represents for the story.
What does he represent?
Much more encapsulated. What does he represent? This dude was a serial killer.
Okay.
Right. And so he's a serial killer in this small town. And in this,
so did Dio.
Dio, what? Dio was not a serial killer. A serial killer? He was not a serial killer.
He killed a dog. He turned a bunch of people to vampires. Killed them. What are you talking? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
That's not just because you kill a bunch of people doesn't make you a serial killer. A serial killer kills a bunch of people in very specific ways.
Okay.
That's what a serial killer is. So Kira was already a serial killer, right? And then obviously, once he got the stand powers, the way he was able to kind of meticulously like do his killing, and how we saw how he was able to utilize his power throughout that small town in that situation. The fact that Jotaro, who was objectively far more powerful than him in the story, and he was able to avoid him constantly through the story. The way he's able to manipulate people, whereas Dio, everything he does is like, okay, Dio said it. We don't really see Dio actually take action.
Are you serious?
Like we see Kira take meticulous action.
Are you serious?
In situations that's always advantageous to the people that he's going against with the other stand users. He's just a normal guy. He represents himself as a normal guy trying to lead a normal life.
Literally confirming you've never watched JoJo. Like
I have watched JoJo.
You're telling me you haven't watched JoJo.
I have watched JoJo. I'm telling you exactly what Kira.
Have you watched it on 3 times speed or some shit like that? Because I don't know how you can get to this conclusion.
We don't got a lie for Dio, bro. We don't got a lie.
We don't got a lie for Dio. Okay. You know okay. So we can. So what are we gonna like? Let's just like name the things that he's done compared to Dio, because Dio's killed dogs. So he pulled up on Jotaro during his honeymoon. Killed him, took his body, made a woman who just had a baby a vampire, watched her eat the baby. What else? He made a whole bunch of people in Egypt stand users. Put the Joestar's mom in that state. Killed what's his? Killed a few. Damn. Let's say killed. Like three of the main characters for season 4. But we're just talking about a guy that killed none of the main. We're talking about someone that killed none of the main guys. He was just a serial killer who then ended up hiding.
Meanwhile,
who ended up hiding in some girl's crib.
In the Warriors game, Draymond Green's somehow got Rudy Gobert in a headlock. I have so many questions.
That's weird. At the end of the day,
also the basis of Dio, if we really think about it, is really interesting, because like you can think of it like this. Dio is like, I don't want to say in some ways like Dio is like what Random thinks Bakugo should be in terms of like how evil Dio is. if you really want to break it down, no, because so Dio came from a shit family. Mom either the mom left or like ran out or whatever, so dad was abusive. Jotaro came from a very established family, rich, and so everything that Jotaro had, Dio wanted. So Dio hated it for him because he felt less than him. So he went to attack the thing that made him feel weaker.
Insecurities, I guess.
Yeah, his insecurities made him evil. That's why he went after the dog. He tried to bring Jotaro down to his level, and then when he couldn't do that, when he was still embraced. While Jotaro was dying, he's like, I can't let this hate go, so I'm gonna go after your whole family for generations. For generations, we see seasons of this, and then also his actions lead to other villains in the later seasons, like in season 6.
I ain't gonna lie to you. It sound like Dio Clear, bro. I ain't never watched it.
We're talking about someone that was in one season.
Let's not
compared to someone that we're talking about impact also. So someone that
let's
impacts
not
3 to 4
ourselves.
seasons compared to someone that impacts
let's
one
not
season.
let's not fool ourselves. Let's not lie to the people, right? Season 1,
You're
I
lying
give you, because obviously Dio is a character. Obviously, Dio is a jerk because someone is better than him. That's basically what it is. Dio's a jerk because someone's better than him. So he takes a cheat code and becomes a vampire by accident and decides to be, oh, I'm a vampire, I'm an asshole, right? So there it is. And then he stole the guy's body after he lost him. You know, Dio's a jerk who lost and then took someone's body. Cool. Season 2 had nothing to do with Dio. Season 3 did, because Dio came back with Jonathan's body, but most of it was on the way to Dio because Dio came back, and because of his relationship with the Joestars, it affected his mother because Dio unlocked the stand power and his mother was affected. So Dio didn't really do anything.
That, like,
he just unlocked his stand power and it just automatically
Dio, so you got to see how he manipulated the story throughout season 3.
He just unlocked his stand power, and that's why Jotaro is like, oh yeah, I got to do something. So we get to see the journey. Obviously, Dio is gonna have to stop these guys that are about to come and have smoke, but you know, it is what it is. He's the villain. He's doing bad stuff, hitting dogs, killing dogs, all that stuff. Season 4 has nothing to do with Dio. Season 5 has, the only reason why it has something to do with Dio is because someone was like a fanboy of Dio, but Dio didn't do anything in that. And season 6 has nothing to do with Dio. So let's not lie to ourselves about Dio's impact. He doesn't really do anything. He's just an asshole who got vampire powers.
Impact. In reality, so a whole disciple of Dio was the main villain for season 6. That's not impact. Someone that worshipped Dio, Dio as a god, became and he was the main villain for a whole season.
Okay, a Dio fanboy has nothing. Dio didn't do anything to him to put him on the path he was putting. He was a fanboy. He wanted to resurrect Dio. That's all it was. Let's not lie to ourselves here. All right. And Dio is good for the memes. Dio is good because he's an asshole. But just because you're an asshole doesn't make you a good villain, right? So that's very important in this conversation. So we're just
skipping over all the actions that we said he did compared to like the little, like, what, 3 things that you said that this one character did?
Because what Kira represents in this like small town is much more impactful in terms of character dynamics and character writing. I've explained it. So what Kiro represents here is we're seeing someone kind of go on a very interesting villain path, where it's not just random occurrences of just, okay, I'm an asshole. Kira is a serial killer who obviously wants to be a normal guy, but he's not a normal guy. He kills women and takes their hands. Now he
lost to a child.
He lost to Jotaro.
But he was set up by the child.
Okay. The main villain in part 6 lost to a child. The main villain in part 5 lost to a child. The main villain Dio lost to a child. Jotaro was 17.
I'm talking about like an 8-year-old. He lost to an 8-year-old.
Technically, Jotaro's a teenager, but you know, I got you.
The 8-year-old gave him more anxiety than Jotaro did. He was fighting to defeat a regular. The 8-year-old didn't have any powers, unlike in season 6. The guy that actually had powers. He didn't have any powers. He wasn't a super genius. He was just like, because hey, you're not. He's like, hey, you're not my dad. Why are you in my house?
That's the point.
What are you doing?
He needed the 8-year-old to cover him. Because if he kills the 8-year-old, people are going to know
his dad. I'm sorry. If someone was trying to pretend to be my dad, I think I would notice. Like, hey, you're not my dad.
That's the point.
Who the fuck are you?
He needs to hide his identity from Jotaro. But this 8-year-old kept on remembering.
Hide his identity from an 8-year-old.
What?
Compared to Dio, who raised disciples, had multiple impactful moments, more impactful moments to the actual story of JoJo. So, like, what are you talking about? You're talking about someone that like lost to an 8-year-old in Jotaro, compared to someone that fought generations of. We're talking about in the story. It's not even close.
To an 8-year-old. The point of the point of the dynamic in the situation is that he had to hide his identity,
and he failed
from Jotaro.
And he failed.
The child was part of the identity. The child just wouldn't forget, or wouldn't forget, because he kept on rewinding time. That was the problem in this situation. He didn't lose to a child. That's a disingenuous way to bring it up. What we're saying.
he couldn't hide his identity from a child, so he lost, and they got his ass whooped.
Okay, I can make it simple too. Dio was jealous from another guy who's better than him, so he got vampire powers in his asshole. We could play these games, man.
Yeah, but then when we list what actually happens, Dio's all the way up here, and then I just hear like a few things.
He didn't really do much. Most of the stuff we see in part 3 was his disciples. We didn't see him until the end of the story.
But you also
see Kira throughout the entire of JoJo.
He his disciples and how he manipulates them and impacts the story. He promises them things. He bribes them. He blackmails them. Stuff like that. So he's constantly
tells them things and lies to them.
Yeah, throughout the whole story. So he's manipulating people throughout the whole story. And then you actually see him in season 4. And he's doing shit there. He's killing main characters. Not just random ladies in the town with hands. He's killing main characters.
So, I mean, Lani's only thing is that this guy just does bad stuff. I mean, hey, if that's all it takes, kill some people and that's all it's good. Majin Buu should be in B tier 2, to be honest. But
kills people, manipulates the story. But whatever.
Hey, man.
Impactful for multiple seasons compared to like half a season, but you know
he doesn't really do much. Dio doesn't really do much. We're gassing a lot of Dio's impacts. The love of Dio is mostly memes. Like
Ty and Random, what do you think? Like, who should be in front of who?
I don't watch JoJo's.
Ty doesn't watch JoJo's. I don't know.
Just based off of what we both said.
I think Lani made a good case.
I would also choose Dio out of the case. I also just think Dio is so petty. I love Dio because of how petty he is, for real. That's why I love Dio more than Kira, but it doesn't really matter to me either way.
Dio just kills more people. Congratulations. You're Majin Buu. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I got outvoted.
These animes reverse Flash. What are we talking about?
Facts, Jalen.
Oh, who's next?
Petty and just kills more people.